Welcome to Boundaries with Arya. Unload her luggage here. She's done with that rundown condo. From now on, she'll be under this roof. You'll handle her needs starting today." My father barked from the garage while my aunt lingered next to him, gripping a briefcase as if it held the keys to my future. That briefcase sealed the deal. My aunt had secured a $4 million investment for my cousin's startup flop, and now she aimed to crash at my place to leech off my stability. Those were her brazen words from the evening before, delivered with smug satisfaction, as though she'd orchestrated a genius coup. My pulse raced, but my expression remained steady. My name is Sophia Reed. I'm 34, and a single burning query looped in my thoughts. Why do those closest to me assume my success is theirs to claim? My father hauled her trunks onto the deck like a dutiful porter, and my aunt declared with utter audacity, "Sophia, prepare the spare suite. I'm settling in for good. Groceries, bills, all on you now. Your cousin and I hashed it out. Papers are inked. This serves us all." She emphasized us, as if I were invisible in the equation. I held my tongue. No outburst, no glare. I merely pivoted and retreated indoors, for confrontation was unnecessary. The groundwork was laid. The prior evening before this ambush relocation, I discreetly visited the notary. And this morning, mere hours before their arrival, the last endorsements were affixed. So, as my father propelled her bags onward with assurance, and my aunt strode in like a sovereign reclaiming her throne, they halted abruptly. They gasped in shock because the sanctuary they presumed to invade was no longer theirs to tread upon. Not by law, not by finance, not by any stretch. And I uttered nothing. I simply brandished one pivotal paper, and my aunt's legs truly faltered. Her eyeliner smudged as her mouth gaped. She braced against the banister as if the floor had shifted. My father appeared bewildered, then furious, then petrified, for the sheet in my grasp wasn't arbitrary. It was the revised trust deed, executed the day before, authenticated, registered, archived, and irreversible by kin or otherwise. My aunt jabbed at it with quivering digits. "Sophia, what's this? What's this?" I articulated deliberately, softly, like one who'd already mourned the loss. "This residence isn't mine anymore." My father sputtered. "What do you mean not yours? In whose name?" I inclined my head faintly, allowing the pause to linger, the gravity to sink in. Then I responded, "It's in my son's name now." The corridor turned into a void. My aunt's complexion shifted from haughty rose to ashen pallor. "He's 8, she murmured. "And he possesses more than you'll ever grasp," I countered. No ranting, no vengeful soliloquy, no shaming, just serene fact. My advisor urged this conveyance the night prior when I disclosed my aunt's $4 million venture scheme and the plot to saddle me with the fallout. From then, dialogue was moot. An 8-year-old can't be coerced into absorbing another's folly. An 8-year-old can't be swayed over meals. An 8-year-old can't be guilted into duty. He never opted in. My aunt ventured a final feeble plea. "Sophia, darling, just till we sort it." I cradled the deed file to my torso with one arm and extended the other toward the entrance. "Scan the final clause," I murmured. Her wail echoed through the lawn because that clause affirmed they were unlawfully intruding. My father surged ahead as if bluster could negotiate an escape. He seized the file, skimmed the concluding section, and literally staggered into the console table, for there in bold ebony print lay the precise provision my advisor penned. All prior and prospective obligations incurred by external entities are non-assignable to the juvenile proprietor. In plain terms, their $4 million debacle. The snare they set for me now ensnared them alone. Not mine, not my son's, not reachable by them. My aunt clutched her throat as if air evaded her. "Sophia, we're blood," she implored. "We must reside here. You don't get the investors." I interjected softly. "Comprehend fully. You sought to embed in my domain to let my earnings shoulder your blunder." My father bellowed. "We are your kin." I at last met his gaze squarely. Truly examined him. Not the youth I once pitied. Not the figure who feigned affection, but the leech who cherished only my provisions. "You're not my kin," I stated. "My son is." My aunt's legs gave way because that declaration wasn't sentimental. It was conclusive. Behind them in the driveway, the neighbor diagonally opposite halted, pruning his hedges. He noticed 4 trunks by their vehicle, and he saw my resolve. My aunt sobbed amid gasps, dread mounting. "Sophia, mercy. Just tonight. Tonight till we resolve." I methodically delved into my satchel. Not for a device, not for currency, but for a slim ivory packet. Their stares tracked it as if it pulsed with peril. "And this?" my aunt queried. I positioned it delicately on the veranda balustrade and withdrew. "This is the investor notice." My aunt grabbed the packet as if it bore salvation, ripped it asunder, and upon reaching the 3rd stanza, her frame sagged. She recited it aloud, tone wavering. "Owing to default hazard, asset forfeiture could commence in 21 days. Her palms shook fiercer. They believed my home was the pledge. Well, my advisor ensured the pledge was my cousin's startup office. The one they funded with the $4 million. My aunt gazed up aghast. "He'll forfeit all," she breathed. My father strove to reclaim his composure. "Sophia, hear me. If you permit us shelter for a mere fortnight, we can delay the creditors." "No," I replied plainly. He flinched, astounded that one word could wound more than a tirade. Then, like a trapped beast, his timbre grew petty. "All right. You deem yourself superior because fortune favored you. Because you prosper. Because you—" I advanced nearer. "Because I ceased allowing your depletion." He fell silent. My aunt regarded me as if yearning to undo decades of belittling me, viewing me as the reserve offspring, the unseen sustainer. Now abruptly, I was their sole savior. It bordered on lyrical. But I wasn't pursuing vendetta. I sought limits. "I'm not accountable for mending outcomes you forged," I declared. "Not henceforth." They beheld me as if I'd transformed, grown immense, inaccessible. My aunt at last murmured one concluding inquiry. "So what shall we do?" I regulated my respiration and offered the sole guidance that would safeguard my son eternally. "Depart. My name is Sophia Hale. I'm 33. And the instant that lone term escaped my lips, "depart," something disintegrated within them. My aunt's posture crumpled initially. My father essayed once more to bluff, but he evaded my stare because he sensed profoundly that the lady who once hyperventilated nocturnally, terrified of forfeiting affection by refusing, that lady had vanished. I gestured toward the vestibule, toward the trunks they'd lugged within. "Retrieve your belongings," I said softly. My aunt surveyed my corridor, the gleaming marble, the mounted sketches from my son's art camp, as if grasping this wasn't merely a dwelling. It was an existence she never aided in constructing, yet coveted to inhabit. My father acted first, towing the trunk outward, shunning my look, mandible taut from the mortification of an inescapable repercussion. And I knew he dreaded not destitution. He dreaded the absence of a perpetual fallback. My aunt dawdled at the lintel, anticipating leniency, a waver in my timbre, the familiar cycle. But I didn't yield. "Not now. You retain 21 days, I stated evenly. Contact the investors, a mediator, whomever necessary, but not me to bear the burden of decisions I didn't partake in." Her lips trembled. For a moment, I anticipated remorse, but she uttered her fallback when powerless. "You're heartless," I affirmed. "No, I'm lucid." And I shut the portal. No bang, no spectacle, just ceiling. Quietude warmed me for the first aeon in eras. I proceeded to the den, decanted tea, and messaged my advisor one phrase. Advanced to ultimate phase. The subsequent dawn, the cascade initiated. At 8:47 a.m. precisely, my device hummed. Not from my aunt, not my father, but the creditors. "Ms. Hale, this is oversight. We require elucidation on yesterday's tenure amendment submission." I'd readied for it. Serenely, I transmitted the attested evidence, the sworn proprietor assertion, the one I'd endorsed 4 days prior, the day I discerned my aunt's perpetual intrusion intent. Lena, my counsel had advised, should they attempt to exploit you anew, you can impose non-occupant status. It's binding. Thus, upon the creditors obtaining the refreshed documents, they immobilized all familial connected privileges, services, auxiliary compensation accounts, all. By 9:33 a.m., I tallied 19 unanswered summons. By 9:48 a.m., a dispatch from my cousin. What have you wrought? They're informing aunt she requires fresh domicile verification for all. I abstained from responding. I merely dispatched a capture. It was the internal scrutiny note from the creditors. Guardian endorsement: anomalies on the 4M investment necessitate confirmation and reassessment in 7 business days. Her response indicator emerged, then vanished. She comprehended the implication. Their cunning ploy, leveraging my aunt's remorse to overextend funds, now faced scrutiny. Deeds bear mass. Ramifications bear schedules. Near midday, I ventured out for the post. Across the avenue, my aunt and father paced the curb, murmur quarreling, gesturing at their gadgets, the alarm manifesting, tangible, authentic. My aunt finally glanced my way. She appeared wearier than yesterday. Please, she lipped. But I didn't approach. I didn't holler. I didn't debate. I simply rotated, unlatched my entrance, and entered. And that hush shattered them far beyond clamor ever might. By dusk, my father mounted his dramatic bid. He arrived solo at my threshold, clasping a bakery sack as if amity could be bartered with pastries. Sophia, let's converse. His inflection was mild, nearly tender, the same cadence he employed initially to persuade me against my gut. I didn't unbar the portal wholly, just sufficiently for him to perceive my poise. Converse on what? I inquired. A gulp. You're exaggerating. You can't abandon blood on the pavement. There it surfaced. Not contrition, not responsibility. Just the presumption I ought to rectify their chaos. I reclined against the jamb. You've constructed your existence presuming another will tidy your disorder, I said gently. But that other isn't me any longer. He parted his lips, but I halted him. And incidentally, don't label them blood. Blood honors limits. He blinked, perplexed, for deceit grasps not transparency. Then I proffered a stark packet, his moniker in my script. He unsealed it there. Within were 2 sheets. The creditor's official non-tenancy sanction. The motion for fiscal detachment per California Code. Lodged this morn. His visage paled because those folios signified one truth. I wasn't merely sentimentally concluded. I was juridically concluded. He pressed a palm to the portal as if halting actuality's pivot. Sophia, please. I gazed straight into his orbs, not with ire but terminus. You desired existence sans my backing. I murmured tenderly. Now you possess it. And I sealed the portal. Gradual, mild, exact. That was the true closure. Not a shriek, not a clash, just a pristine cut. Boundary etched. Tomorrow the forms would conclude. Tonight, I slumbered sans apprehension for the premiere in annals. The ensuing morn, as dawn grazed the parlor rugs, I steeped tea in tranquility. No stifled alarm in my core. No terror of ensuing sentimental snare. My counsel rang at 8:47 a.m. exact. It's sealed, she affirmed. All endorsements authenticated. Monetary partition engaged. They can't affix to your holdings anymore. I respired deeply, protracted, as if epochs of strain exited my frame. In 15 minutes, my device thrummed repeatedly from obscure digits. I inverted it. Hush wasn't evasion now. It was potency. Rather than fret browsing or spying their retorts digitally, I snatched my fobs and motored to the Horizon Initiative's fresh guidance hub. The identical scheme I erected so youths wouldn't mature craving approval from those who'd never bestow it. Kai awaited, tablet poised, curls in a lax braid, zeal emanating. Prepared to assess the fresh entries, he posed. Beamed. Authentically, wholly. We perched in the review lounge, and he displayed the reel of a 17-year-old who'd crafted a brief on resilience via clarity. Her timbre quavered in the dialogue, quaking with that known scar of being overlooked, but her gaze, it was resolute. Kai halted the segment. "You altered all for him," he noted. I reflected on the prior eve. The trunks, the portal ceiling, the quiescence. No, I amended softly. I merely indicated a threshold. He elected to traverse it. We handled grant picks. We outlined guidance timelines. We sculpted tomorrows, not restorations. At midday we emerged outdoors, the breeze sharp, the vista vast. My device still quivered in my tote. But for the inaugural, I owed none a retort. Certain tales resolve not by reverting. Certain resolve by declining to diminish. I surveyed the metropolis, the fresh leaf unfurling. My existence I breathed to myself. Not leased, not forfeited, not provisional.